You're welcome back into the studios of Election Watch on Galaxy Television as we continue our coverage of the presidential and National Assembly elections holding across the country. I see how with me Dr. Sheteolu. Dr. Sheteolu.
Good afternoon, Nigerians. It's been a long day.
It's been a long day, and we hope it will be a successful day.
Hopefully.
Also joining us virtually is Mr. Felix Okoro from Abuja. Felix, thank you for joining us. Right. We'll get you on shortly to have your views on what's going on in Abuja and around the country based on the reports you're getting. But very quickly, we'll go to Anambra State where we have our correspondent Dele Fason standing by with an update. Good afternoon, Dele.
Good afternoon.
Right. Give us your update from Anambra.
As I speak with you, just about 16 minutes past 3, about a polling unit here in all over 500 persons of the queue. Because voting, accreditation and voting started here around 1 p.m., while other areas started around 9 and 10. Behind me, you will still see them trying to cast their vote, and the complaint they have around here is that the bimodal voter accreditation system papers have been very slow. In some of the areas we went to monitor before coming here, that is Amobia in Anambra South area there. In the community primary school there, the elderly, they have their facials with the bimodal rejected. Their fingerprint and facials have been rejected several times. Some of them complain, about this, the facials. They have to use spirit, to clean their tongue. And coming back, it will still reject them. They have to wait for hours. Most cases in this Oka town, I can tell you, the places visited. We visited the Oka South, Oka Central, and in Nibo area. We found out that the system there started very low. That is the situation we get in most places here in Oka and Amobia.
Because it's obvious that voting, of course, won't end at the official time. How long are they willing to extend the voting period to?
Yes, about 30 minutes ago, I spoke with the resident election here, Queen Elizabeth Agu, and she said no INEC said it was 8:30 a.m. to 2:30. She said, but any vote already on the queue, no matter the time it gets to 4 or 5 p.m., they will take all voters, that they will ensure that nobody is disenfranchised. So that is assured of voting for this election as long as they say stay on the queue. That is according to the INEC reg.
Are they willing to stay back?
Take that again, I can barely hear that. Okay. Yes, a lot of them, in the initial stage, they were fears, the fear of the unknown, the security issues. But when the police gave them this assurance, most of them said they want to go out and cast their vote. They want to go out despite the cash flow. So a lot of them, what we're witnessing in most areas visited, the turnout was really unprecedented because most people really wanted to come out and vote. That's what we were experiencing in major areas. Even when we went out of this town to Angudu, where Peter Obi voted, there too. They were large turnout in the Angudu, Amobia, Nibo, Akuzu, and now in Oka. So the turnout is encouraging, like say.
Right. Thank you very much, Dele, for that update. We'll get back to you again, and we hope to speak to the resident electoral commission at some point when the election is over. Straight away, we also take you to Kaduna, where our correspondent Bosan Yakusak is standing by. Good afternoon, Bosan. Right. What's the update from Kaduna? Take us through what's going on.
Generally, there has been no turnout of voters in Kaduna State. The governor, a while ago, while casting his vote, expressed a bit of shock with the level of turnout in Kaduna State. Even though Kaduna State is one of those states that we came out in mass to collect their permanent voters card, in terms of turnout, most stakeholders, most electorates and voters, from what we have seen, that we have been to at least about 4 local governments, we have seen a bit of voter apathy is low, and then people are saying that maybe this might be due to some government policy in terms of fuel scarcity, or maybe a lack of cash, and maybe this might be factors that is making people not to turn out. But generally speaking, there's been low turnout of elections.
Bosan, can you please repeat yourself? I didn't get that point.
Okay, yes, sir. I'm saying generally speaking, there's been low turnout of elections.
Where are you exactly now in Kaduna?
Yes, I'm in Kaduna.
So from the areas where you've visited so far, how would you assess, compared to where you are now? You did say that voters were at the last polling unit where you visited, the areas where you visited when we spoke to you the last time. Okay, we seem to be having a problem linking up with Bosan there. We'll get him back online very shortly. Straight away, we'll take you to Abuja, where Felix Okoro, Editor-in-Chief, the Yellow Pages, is standing by. Good afternoon, Felix.
Hello.
We seem to have some technical issues. Bosan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, very well. So give us your update again. I was asking about the local government you had visited earlier and where you are presently. What do you think is responsible for the low turnout of voters where you are presently?
Yes, generally major stakeholders, electorate and voters have expressed a bit of shock following the level of compliance in terms of collection of PVC. Kaduna State is one of those states that people came out in mass to make sure that they collected their PVC. But from what we have seen so far, there has been low turnout in terms of coming out to vote. The voter apathy has been very, very low. Even the Kaduna State Governor, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, a while ago, while casting his vote in 4 years. So Kaduna residents must make sure that they participate in this exercise and then make sure that they cast their vote. But so far, so good. I mean, security have been fair. They have been civic in terms of the way they have conducted themselves. They've been professional. Every polling unit you go, you see security personnel in terms of military, in terms of police, civil defense, and even road safety personnel, But in terms of voter turnout, the voter turnout is not encouraging.
What can you tell us in the areas you visited?
Well, so far, the BVAS machine has performed up to expectation, even though we are experiencing a bit of delay in delivering most of this sensitive material in polling units. I mean, up to about 12 to 1, some polling units in Kaduna State haven't still received their sensitive material, BVAS, and then the voters, the voters' card. What I'm trying to say is that as far as Kaduna State is concerned, the sensitive material did not arrive at most polling units on time. And then this is one of the major issues. But the BVAS machine, those that arrive on time, have performed up to expectation, above average.
Update, we'll get to speak to you much later. Straight away, we go to Abuja, where Felix Okoro, Editor-in-Chief, Nigeria Yellow Pages, is also standing by to speak to us. He's joining us virtually from Abuja. Good afternoon, Felix. Okay, we'll get him on shortly. Dr. Shetiolu,
Yes,
you had the report from Anambra. I mean, obviously, if the electoral materials got there late, if registrations, accreditation started late and voting started late, it means that voting time will be extended. That means we'll have to wait a bit longer to get the results.
definitely. Yes.
You know, so I'd like to have your views about this.
Well, it's a straight case. You know, the law is not meant to be rigid. The law is adaptable, and I suppose INEC understood this, that in the circumstance that we are, where the beavers is malfunctioning, and accreditation and voting could not commence as scheduled, it is incumbent on the electoral body to extend the voting hours. You know, there's no doubt about it. And I suppose the INEC chair, you know, made the point sometimes, and I expect he would insist nationwide that every individual at the voting center who is on ground must be accredited and voted before, you know, before voting ends nationwide. That, I suppose, is sacrosanct. That I expect INEC would adhere to, that I expect INEC will respect. It will not be fair to voters who came to voting centers and who wouldn't vote on account of the malfunctioned beavers. You know, there had been instances that we had that the beavers, you know, could not identify, you know, term and face. You know, the voters should not suffer for it. Definitely not. I repeat, the voters should not suffer for it. You know, the voters should not suffer for it. But beyond that, I'll expect INEC to rethink the beavers, you know, model, you know, beyond the 2023 elections. Certainly.
Are you saying it should be taken away or it should
no,
be improved on?
not necessarily.
Because it
yes.
adds some value to
No,
this.
no. I certainly would not expect, or I certainly would not suggest it should be jettisoned. No, certainly not. It has enhanced confidence in the electoral process. I suppose to some extent the percentage increase we had in voter registration figure is partly attributable to the confidence in beavers and related technology-based systems. Certainly not. But there are problems. There are technical issues about the application of beavers. There's also a problem about the training, you know, of adult staff on the use of beavers. My worry is the competence of some of the adult staff on the deployment of beavers. I also have worry about the climate adaptation of beavers. I'm aware that the beavers model is important, you know, and I suppose the technology has been developed in the temperate region, which is cold region. There are technologies that respond to room temperature and hot environments, right, and so on and so forth. And there could be instances where some of these materials could get deactivated, you know, or may begin to malfunctions as a result of the climate shift, you know. So INEC should, you know, should consider reaching the manufacturers, you know, to bear in mind, you know, the tropical climate condition in Africa. You know, I suppose one of the electoral commissioners insisted last night that that they were prepared, the beavers were ready. So, but it's getting apparent that the beavers are not ready in some instances, you know, in some instances. And if we're not careful, this may engender protests in some states. If the sizes of voters are not allowed, you know, are not allowed to exercise their voting rights. So the beavers, you know, we should also bear in mind this in mind. We've not had reports from other states about the functional level of the beavers. We need to get results from other states, you know, and other regions to draw, you know, reliable conclusions on the functionality of the beavers machine.
Let me ask you to pause for a bit and let's go to Abuja. And,
Okay.
Let's have Felix on.
Okay.
He's the editor-chief of Nigeria Yellow Pages. Felix, thank you for joining us. We apologize for the technical hitches while we're trying to bring you on. You've had some reports across the country, especially with the performance of beavers, with late arrival of sensitive materials, and you know, accreditation starting late, and voting still going on when it should have closed. Let's have your take.
I think it's proper for me to reference what INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, said during his afternoon briefing by 1 p.m. today. So he said overall that the beavers machine performance was very, very encouraging. That is his word. At least to score up to 75 to 80% performance, which is good enough for an election like this. And he said in terms of deployment, they had logistic challenges. Some of them they were able to overcome. And he tried to isolate some areas that had this problem. He started from Delta State, which was similarly local government area. He said thugs attacked 6 polling units, made away with the beavers machines. But INEC was able to replace those machines. And as at the time he came to brief the press at the International Conference Center, which is the National Collection Center, that 3 out of those stolen beavers machines had been recovered. Then he went straight to Imo State. He said there are 4 local government areas, he named them Okigwe, Uguta, Osu, and Olu, that the problems there were also being tackled, and that voting, as at the time he came to brief, had also commenced. Then in Abia State, he gave a similar situation report and went up north to Borno, where even the APC vice presidential candidate went to the polling unit to vote. He couldn't even vote. And in fact, the INEC had not even deployed at where the APC vice presidential candidate is supposed to vote. And he said, well, the vice president still has the opportunity because it wasn't up to 2:30 as at the time he was briefing the press, meaning that they had sorted out the problem and that anybody who went there earlier and couldn't get accredited, not to talk of voting, should go back. Then he told us in that same Borno state, Goza, where Boko Haram attacked. According to him, he said they were firing from the hills or mountains up there, but the problem is being sorted. By the time he come up for his 4:30 briefing, he will give updates on those areas. And in a place like Shiroro in Niger State, he said it was bandits. They came to disrupt the process, and the security people were able to restore normalcy, that people have gone to cast their ballots in those areas. So overall, he said the process is huge, expectation is high, but the INEC is doing its utmost best to deliver free and credible election. The challenges are enormous. We don't need him to tell us because the logistical challenges here are too much. We don't have the requisite infrastructure. We don't have a whole lot to back up the kind of process we have embarked upon. We are largely manual in some of our these things. If automation could be brought into some of this. We know that automation has its own challenges because of our tropical weather here. Some of these devices, I don't know whether they were tuned to work efficiently in this kind of tropical weather we find ourselves. I think it's more of experimentation. Maybe after this election, lessons will be learned, and those lessons will be used to make sure that subsequent elections are better than this.
The reports we've heard generally, how will this, these developments, as highlighted by the INEC chairman, impact on the credibility of this election?
Yeah. Well, credibility is about processes. If the processes are open and transparent, for instance, the Electoral Act says, in the event of polling not opening at the right time, let's assume polling is supposed to open by 8:30, and if for any reason it opens at 12 p.m. or 12 noon, what it means that people will be accrediting and voting. By the time it is 2:30 p.m., every voter who had come out to vote will be attended to and will be allowed to vote. It's more like the extension is implied just by saying anybody at the polling unit as at 2:30 p.m. when voting is supposed to close. If a voter is there and yet to cast his or her ballot, that voter will still be attended to, even if it takes them to 4 p.m., 5 p.m., or 6 p.m. or beyond. So it is implied, meaning that there is transparency. You are not going to say because voting didn't start early. The question is that we are there by 2:30 p.m. If any voter is there by 2:30 p.m., the law allows INEC to make sure that that voter is attended to. So because of these challenges, INEC is not hiding it. Where they are succeeding, they are telling you. Where they are failing, they are telling you. Some of them are not INEC-made problems. I must give it to them. Most of the challenges we are having here, they are human. They are human. Talking about givers may not be functioning optimally in some areas. But you will agree with me that most of the challenges are man-made challenges. That's what makes our problem here very, very difficult to handle. In other climes, they contend with mechanical failure, but here, we are contending not only with mechanical failure, but problems created and caused by humans. Not even their error, deliberate circumvention of the
It's
process.
obvious it has a solution, so how
case,
do we deal with it?
How to deal with it is to continue improving the processes. Like BVAS machine is an improvement from card reader. And card reader in those days was an improvement from just using voters register alone. Maybe this is the first time we are using BVAS machine for a general election. Just as I said, lessons would be learned, and INEC as an election management body would have taken notes and lessons which will help them to improve the processes. Ultimately, what will solve all these problems is if I can vote from my home, you can vote from your home, and people will vote from their various places. But if we need to congregate to places to go and vote, the issue of logistics, transport companies you don't control, drivers you don't control, even some of your ad hoc staff, you can't vouch for them. So these are some of the problems INEC is contending with. And as a developing nation, we cannot pretend that these problems are not possible given the level of our development. As we make progress and as we develop, we're getting some of these things right. That is why it is good to have democracy. For instance, this is the longest time since the history of Nigeria. We've had 24 years of uninterrupted civilian rule. It has never happened before. And there is no way you compare the experience learned in these 24 years with when it was just 4 years the military will strike, and that would be it. So solution will be, as we make progress as a people, as a nation, we improve our education, we improve our institutions, we improve our processes. That's the only way out.
Update from our correspondent, Irebami, who is here with us in Lagos. We'll take a short break. You're welcome back into the studios. We'll take you straight to Ikeja, where Irebami Salako is standing by with an update. Good afternoon, Irebami.
Hello, good afternoon.
Quickly, give us a feel of what's happening in
Okay, we began our journey this morning from polling centers here in Ikeja. We were there since like 8:30, but the polling of the INEC officers were not there yet, which was disappointing to the people there. And from there, we moved to Mile 12. In Mile 12, a lot of people had already commenced voting. Accreditation and voting was taking place there, and it was a very nice thing to see because we saw the BVAS in action, and a lot of voters we spoke to, they really commended the use of BVAS. And from there, we moved to Ojota. From Ojota, we moved to Lagos Island. In Lagos Island, we were in Obalende and Ipoli. And in all these places that we've gone to, every election was very peaceful. And from the island, we went to Surulere, which also recorded peacefulness. The environment was cool and calm. On the way, there were security agencies there. Even some stopped us on the way to. Perhaps it's to see if we're not moving around with election materials, but we have to cooperate with them. And right now in Ireland, vote counting is already. The election has been peaceful, it has been smooth, and people we've talked to, they've really commended INEC for the successful conduct of this election. Well, so far, because we can't really know how everything is going to turn out at the end of the day, and they really urged people, at least because we know for this election there's going to be a winner, and for the people who will lose, they are encouraging them to embrace sportsmanship, to make sure that to ensure that there is peace, this is democracy. There will always be winner and there will always be loser. And like I said, counting of votes, I think it is getting result right now.
You've been in some major parts of Lagos. In terms of the turnout of voters for these elections?
Okay, the INEC officials so far, they were impressed. Even some of the places we went to, we saw huge turnout of people there. There was one polling center, they had about 200 voters that were supposed to vote there. And at the time we were getting there, like over 80, close to 90 people had already voted. So to them, that is a really big deal. And for youth, we saw a lot of youth coming out too, because according to INEC's data, youth make up a huge population of voters, and this too is evident in the number of people who see voting. Even I don't know if you can see clearly behind you the demographics of people here. Majority of
update. We hope to have more reports from you as the counting progresses, and also voting is still on in some parts of the country. Thank you for that update.
Yes, definitely voting so far, so because some people, what INEC officials told us that from 2:30 they would not let
anyone join the solely on the people who got there by 2:30. So right now there might still be some areas where voting is still commencing, but it's not that they are admitting new people, just the people who got there at exactly 2:30. Even when we got here around 3 and up when voting, because I guess the same thing happened here by 2:30, they stopped letting people come here to vote, and they just focused on the people who were here already.
To you much later.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Felix, let me come back to you. I'm sure you heard her giving that report in terms of voting. So it might be a long wait for us to to get to the collation center in Abuja?
Like in most parts of the country, pooling didn't open quite early in some areas in Abuja, whereas in some areas they had the early opening of the pools. And it depends on the area anyway. For instance, in places like Maitama, Masokoro, Wusetu, where you may call the highbrow areas, you know, the people there are more organized, more orderly. So things seem to move seamlessly. And naturally, you don't have so many people coming to vote from that kind of demography, okay? But if you go to the satellite towns, okay, you have a whole large number of people. For instance, there's a big estate in Abuja called Tredmore Estate. As at 10:15, INEC officials had not reported to that place. And one of my friends I called to know what was going on there told me no, they haven't seen any of them. And what interests me was the determination. They said they were ready to wait for them, that they have no other business today than to vote, that in as much as they will come, that they will be there to wait for them to come. And it will surprise you that in Abuja, you still have areas that polling materials could not be deployed, and you don't even see the INEC officials on time. You now begin to wonder what happens in the rural areas, in the hinterland, you know, where you don't have access road, where you don't have security. But in a place like Abuja, reasonably, the infrastructure in terms of rail network is okay, security is largely okay, but you still have late deployment of materials. So this problem is not, I don't think we are going to continue on this trajectory if we are to make progress. It's been seen that this thing is not delivering what it's supposed to deliver. If you ask for my honest opinion, we really have to find a way out to make this thing as seamless as possible. You know, everything in Nigeria is not only election. You suffer so much. You go for your driver's license, you go for anything, identity like national identity number, anything that government is delivering is very, very peculiar to access those services. I don't know why it is so. You can imagine 93-point-something million registered, only 87.2 collected their PVC, over 6 million couldn't collect their PVC. And we've been asking, is there no better way to seamlessly let people have their PVCs? Because if you don't get these things right from the beginning, there is no way you will expect a different outcome. When you plan very well, that is when you'll be able to get a desired outcome. So, I don't know. It's like in every election cycle, we pass through this same road, this same route. We seem not to have improved so much on this issue of logistics. Yes, we are doing well with the legal framework. Yes, Electoral Act 2022, supposed to be a game changer. That's a plus. Yes, we have a BVAS machine. That's a plus. Yes, but in terms of other logistics, because technology does not drive itself. There is the human element that's supposed to help for the technology to deliver efficiently and effectively. So we are still lagging behind in so many areas. And as I keep saying, our population keeps growing. There is this youth birth in Nigeria. Look at the people who are going to determine who becomes the president today. It's about 65 to 70% of young people. That is ages 18 to about 49 or thereabout. They are going to determine who becomes the Nigerian president. And yet, we are not doing this thing so seamless. So at times it's very discouraging, but there's nothing we can do. It's the level of our development. We are not expected to shoot more than what we can, given the level of our development.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this discussion with Dr. Shete Olu, Felix Okoro, and of course, Barrister Wale Ogunade. Stay with us. You're welcome back into our studios as we continue our live coverage of the presidential and National Assembly elections on Galaxy TV. Joining us is Barrister Wale Ogunade, who is back from his field trip. I'd like to ask you to give us your first-hand experience.
Very, very interesting.
With your Beavers experience and casting your vote.
Yes. Fortunately, I was not able to cast my vote because the INEC people just got there when I got there. And of course, since I know that it will take another 3 hours, because the crowd here was massive, or is massive.
So late deployment?
Because of late deployment. So obviously after this program, I'll go back there and cast my vote. But be that as it may, I went around some other places. And in some places, they even finished voting, finished counting. I was in some places, they were busy announcing results in their area, which they will post. Places like Ikeja, but I don't know. I went to Obafemi Owode local government. That's the next local government on this axis going to Ibadan. And of course up to the redemption camp. And it's a slow takeoff there. And that's why my own experience, because I registered there. And living there, I turned back, came back to Lagos. There are some inside where they call Magboro, Loburo, Asheshe, where is this other area now? Kara, all on this side of the express, on the right side of the express, inward Lagos. Slow start. Some of them, they are still busy. They are busy accrediting, of course, and doing. But there's some places, the places that I saw, the Beavers was working very well. And in some cases, too, my people called me that Beavers was not working. And I told them that they should call, because they gave us a number of those to contact, that's the RAC officers, that they should call them. And of course, they should bring a replacement or bring the backup. And that has been done. Right. And generally, it has been a peaceful thing so far. But really now, I just pray that it won't get to that level. This is the point when we now begin to have issues all over. Why, when some people see that they are losing and they don't want to take that loss, they will now start causing trouble. And I hope that the security agents, I hope they're listening to us, or somebody who is watching this program should pass on the information that this is the time to up their games, because was it now? It's, intelligence has informed me that some people may want to start trouble because their candidates seem to be losing and they want to foment trouble. I don't think the security agents should rest.
We'll leave that to the security. I'm sure they're capable of handling that. Right, but just before we go, because of time, Dr. Shete Olu,
yes, please.
I'd like you to just give us a minute of your time in terms of what we've had in the last few minutes, how we can work on the system to ensure that it functions at optimum.
Oh, wow.
Just in a minute, and I'll also have Barrister Ogunade and Felix to also comment.
Well, it's I think we need time to reflect, you know, on the category on Beavers. It's Mr. Okoro made the point, and I agree with him. It's a learning curve. I think I expect we'll learn, some lessons based on this election, and I hope subsequent elections would be better, Secondly, there have been defects in some locations on logistics, and it's been a recurring issue. And I made the point earlier that it's not peculiar to Nigeria. It's been a recurring issue in Africa. I hope INEC will work at mediating the seeming recurring problem of logistics about elections.
Felix, let me come to you for a minute also. You talked about, having a seamless system. How do we begin to do this?
Yeah, it's taking the lessons from this election to the next election. The problem we have in Nigeria, experiences supposed to come with lessons, okay? Every experience teaches us one lesson or the other. But what we do with that lesson is what matters. For instance, before this election, we have tried beavers in 3 obstacle election, and the average score was about 95 to 98%. People were a bit apprehensive. By the time you cover the whole country, there are bound to be challenges. So it's not totally unexpected. And if you ask me, I think we are doing well so far. Seamless election is not going to come by fluke. We have to work towards it. We have to make the necessary investment. We have to let our people reorientate them. We have to change our political culture. You can't have a culture of violence. You are talking of a seamless election. So it is something everybody, we cannot leave the INEC as an election management body to handle our entire electoral process. Other institutions of state, citizens, okay, occupying that office of a citizen, we have a role to play. We have to change our attitude. We have to change our political culture. We have to imbibe a culture of democracy, not a culture of violence. Because under this culture of violence, no matter the kind of system you put in place, it will not succeed.
All day so far.
Pleasure.
And also Dr.
I'm
Wale.
I'm aspiring. You are in the spirit.
Barrister Wale Ogoni, thank you so much for joining us. We hope to have you much more later as we progress. That's about all we can take on this segment. We'll be back shortly with more updates for you from Abuja and across the country.